Hi everyone, my name is Ashley. I am an attorney, a disability expert, and advocate. And this video is the third in a series about disability and relationships. Today, I am discussing consent. This is a difficult topic, seemingly, for some people without disabilities. It is even more complicated and misunderstood when a person with a disability is involved, not because they can't understand, but because so often it's not something that's discussed with the person from an appropriate age into adulthood. Ideally, you want to start talking about the idea of consent in an older child, I would say, not in the context of anything sexual, but in things such as appropriate touching, appropriate distance from somebody physically, appropriate relationships with things like calling someone an appropriate number of times, etc. Then as they get older into adolescence, teenage years, then you want to start talking about healthy dating, and you want to discuss setting boundaries that are appropriate for that person. Keep in mind that oftentimes people with disabilities have been desexualized by our society, who tends to still treat adults with disabilities like children, even though they have the same maturity level as an adult without a disability. So, consent in theory is pretty simple. You want to ask somebody and have it be made clear that somebody is willing to be a participant in whatever it is you're asking, whether it be kissing, touching, sex, etc. For people with disabilities, this is something that you can practice with yourself in the mirror. It's also something that you want to practice well before you're ready to be intimate with a partner. Adults with disabilities can have fulfilling, intimate relationships with their partner. They can have the independence and self-determination to really decide if it's something they want to do. Unfortunately, though, because so few people with disabilities that were segregated in special education didn't receive any type of sex ed or health education, this is something that many people with moderate to severe disabilities are not prepared to deal with. Even people with moderate to severe disabilities, whether it be cognitive, genetic, mental, or physical, are, for the most part, capable of having intimate relationships as adults. I definitely wouldn't recommend intimate relationships before you become an adult for anybody. But I am going to be listing some resources in my caption, if you are a person with a disability, about what you can do to explore the idea of consent and explore the idea of whether or not you're ready for sex or certain sex acts. More than anything, people tend to talk to their adult children with disabilities about giving consent, but they really don't ever really train an adult with a disability to ask for consent and to know what it looks like and sounds like for somebody to give it. When I was working in a moderate to severe special education context, there were several instances where consent was an issue. Teenagers and adults with disabilities flirt, and they have similar sex drives and hormonal changes as people without disabilities. But because there was not an understanding of consent, there were misunderstandings about things like sexual assault, places where sexual assault was assumed simply because the individuals involved had disabilities, situations where one person did not consent, but the other wasn't able to properly ask for it or read it or chose not to. So this is a complicated topic that we really could talk about for a very long time. This video is just to emphasize that if you are a person with a disability, or if you care about a person with a disability, please do not assume that they are not ever going to have an intimate relationship with a partner. You need to make sure that either yourself or the person that you care about is prepared to be intimate, and that really starts with the idea of consent. Thanks.